Children's Hospital is renowned for its world-class medical treatment, serving patients from around the world. For the past 23 years, that treatment has included an occasional dose of humor, thanks to practitioners from the Laughter League. We're talking about clowns, and some of them with a solid background as circus performers. To tell us about the League and an upcoming benefit is one of the members, Jason Stewart, also known as Doc Skeeter. Thank you very much for being with us.
Hey, Chris. Thank you for having me here.
First of all, who's this Doc Skeeter?
Oh, Doc Skeeter is this sort of country bumpkin character that I play there at Children's. You may hear it in my voice that I'm not actually a native New Englander from North Carolina and spent a lot of time in Atlanta. And so when I moved up here, people kept saying to me, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" And so I realized that's something that makes me stand out. And so I sort of have adopted the country bumpkin character for my clown at Children's Hospital. So Doc Skeeter is sort of a handyman, general bumbler who ends up messing things up a lot. But I find that it's a good way to play the low status to kind of go with that kind of bumpkin.
Long before you were a resident at Children's Hospital, Doc Skeeter, you were a clown, you were in circuses. I mean, what got you started on this?
Well, the circus was the way I started. I wasn't one of those kids who grew up forever wanting to be with the circus, but I was in theater, and I was always cast as the comedy relief. So one of my directors that I respected a lot said, "Jay, you fall down well. You should look into clowning and physical comedy." And so I took him at his word, and I went to an audition for the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Clown College. Lo and behold, I was lucky enough to get accepted, and then lucky enough to get a job touring on the greatest show on earth for several years. And that's a real education, to go out and do 500 shows a year, knocking around with the physical comedy and all the gags and all the crazy stuff that we did in the show. It was a troupe of 26 clowns, and it was great. We had a wonderful experience, and I miss those days, but real life does intrude. You know, I actually was very fortunate to get to go back out on the show with my wife, who's also a clown, and our kids, who actually my son was born when we were out there. And so we made it a family affair and toured the country for 4 years. I was the boss clown of the clown alley, which meant I got to tell everybody what to do. But it was a lot of fun, and really the foundation of everything I've done came through that experience.
And you've done some Three Stooges revivals. Explain this about the Stooges, because as a kid, I thought they were funny guys who said funny things, but it was a lot about the physical stuff, right?
Mostly, I think, for me, it was the physical comedy. They told a lot of really awful jokes, and they sang silly songs. They did a lot of stuff. But for me, it was the physical comedy, the slapstick, that I liked. And so there was a show in Las Vegas when I was living out there, the Three Stooges Live on the stage. And it was a recreation of one of the old shorts. And so I was cast as Mo. I had a black wig and the whole thing, and got to come in and boss everybody around. "What do you think you're doing? Get over there, come on," you know, and be the tough guy. None of us really looked all that much like them, but the spirit of it was there, and the action and the comedy tended to be good. The fans we'd get fans. We'd get Stooge fans showing up.
And who was your favorite Stooge?
Oh, Curly was, I didn't get to play him very often. I was this big around back then. Now I've sort of filled out a bit, but back in those days I was kind of skinny. Had a fat suit made so I could play Curly. And, you know, Curly. All of that stuff. It was so ridiculous and silly, but fun. And that's what was great about comedy in general, I think. The clowning, the stooging, the physical comedy. It just kind of takes people away from what they're thinking about. Go into that world of ridiculous and enjoy it while they're on the ride.
This is BNN News. We're talking with Jason Stewart from the Laughter League Clown Team. Jason, and when you go to a hospital, this is different from the Ringling Brothers, which could be at like the old Boston Garden, people way up in the stands. I guess you're talking to some kid by his bed or something like that. What's that like?
Well, it's totally different, and that was my learning curve, because I'd been a clown for 20 years when I came to the hospital work, and someone said, "Oh, they're looking for clowns," and I said, "Oh, great, I'll go." I had no idea what I was doing. I ended up going in there, and I realized, wow, I can't do anything that I did when I was on the circus. I'm not going to come in here and throw pies at people or fall down or knock stuff. It's a little more controlled environment than the circus ring, for sure. And so it was a learning curve for me. And I take my hat off to the guys that I work with, because a lot of them have been there since day one, and I learned a ton. Even though I'd been a clown forever, I hadn't been in that venue. And like you just said, standing bedside with a kid and the family and the caregivers and the guy pushing the floor waxers and anybody else in the building probably could use a laugh, because it's a children's hospital and there's not always a lot of pleasant stuff happening. So we look at it as a great opportunity to go in there and try just being there for the moment, take people's minds off what's happening. They see that red nose on our faces and they know we're not coming to do anything medical. We're not coming to give them any bad news. We're coming in to break the day up and to hopefully break them up a little bit and get a laugh.
On the one hand, I think there could be a very easy audience because they're so starved for any kind of distraction. But on the other hand, there might be some people who they don't feel that well. They're not in the mood to laugh about something. What do you do with that person?
Well, one thing that you have to do is realize that you're there to serve them and meet them where they're at. I cannot walk into a room and expect everybody to just be jolly all of a sudden because the clown's there. That's not what it is. You're meeting often people at the worst time of their life. Their kid is sick. And so there's a lot of sensitivity that goes into that, a lot of really just life experience. You kind of have to do it for a while, because when I first started, I wouldn't say I was particularly good at it. I tried real hard not to make mistakes rather than being positive about stuff. I was kind of like hesitant, don't mess anything up. I began to realize they're still kids. They may be ill at the moment, but they don't want you to come in and commiserate and pat them on the hand and tell them it's going to be okay. They want you to come in and bust a joint up a little bit, So the education for me was to figure how I could take what I did and make it work in that environment. And what I had to offer was me. And that's what I had to realize, was that the people are there and they aren't expecting you to come in and bring a circus with you, but they are expecting to have a moment that's going to take them out of where they're at. We always say, they're at this level, you want to be up here and try to bring them with you, so you leave them on a high note, and hopefully they've got something to think about, till the next time you might run into them. So it's tough.
You certainly know if this works as an entertainer, but what about medically? Does anyone ever tell you whether this helps the patients?
There have been studies that talk about laughter bringing endorphins to bear, and it basically, you always say, "Oh, I feel so great, I just had a good laugh," And so there is some medical, I would say, medical research that's been done in that regard. But a lot of what we talk about is the emotional value in the room, and so it's a little more, I would say. The word is escaping me, but it's not quite so quantifiable.
It's a good thing.
It's not quantifiable,
Right,
is what I'm trying to say.
okay.
Some of it, the spirit of things is what's important.
And speaking of good things, you've got an event coming up to keep this going, so we should let our viewers know about that.
Oh, I'd love to let them know. We're doing an event called the Laughter League Live on stage at the Calderwood Pavilion in the Wimberley Theater. It's going to be on November 1st at 7:30 with a sort of pre-show reception at 6:30, but it's going to be the entire team on stage, and it's not going to necessarily be what we would do bedside at the hospital, because that isn't the same venue. But what we're trying to do is to say we're all professional entertainers in various places all around New England and all around the world, really, and so we're bringing that level of talent to this show. So our founders of the Laughter League are going to be there performing with us. There's going to be all 9 or 10 members of the team on stage. We've got certainly good physical comedy. There's going to be juggling. There's going to be stilt walking. There's going to be aerial arts. There's going to be magic, audience participation, all kinds of fun. We're trying to create basically a circus on the stage.
And you've got a website with more details, right?
The website is www.laughterleague.org, and I hope everybody will go check that out and see that on there the prominent display of the Laughter League live show, which is coming up on the 1st of November, and click in there to find out how to get tickets.